Welcome back. Today we are putting the Motiv Jackal Legacy through its paces. If you like what we do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon. A big thank you to Jeff Miller and Ron Hoppy. Don't forget to check out Haley's Pro Shop in Burlington, Washington for world-class drilling and coaching. First impressions, a Jackal called Legacy, I guess is not likely to disappoint, and it did not. So, how many Jackals will we see from Motiv? Who knows, but I don't think Motiv will ever have a lineup without at least one predator called Cord Ball. I can't blame them, and anyone who's has had one knows why they're so successful. Now, honestly, my first impression is somewhat filled with confusion. I mean, 3 solid Jackals in the same lineup. I mean, coming out with the Forged Flare, which was already crazy strong, and not 5 minutes later come out with the Jackal Legacy. I mean, a comparison of the Legacy and Flare is inevitable. I'll probably do that eventually. I felt like the Flare was the strongest ball that Motiv has ever released, that also generated good angle down lane. And then Motiv says the Legacy is the strongest. I mean, let's just leave the whole mumbo jumbo behind and talk about what this is. The motion is very familiar, as you would expect. It has a smoother transition than the Forged Flare, but does have strong back end with very similar cover length, as you would expect, same cover. The big thing that was immediately differentiable is that despite being strong, it was playable from a wide range of boards as compared to the Flare. It doesn't feel lazy, but you obviously can reach a limit of angle, and it depends on the game. I just felt like I could play this relatively comfortably without feeling like I was close to, week 7 leaves. And just thinking about the other Jackals we've had, I would say the Ghost is maybe a bit weaker, but not weak, and the Alpha is smoother. The cover chemistry doesn't respond as quickly as the Legacy or Ghost for the Alpha. Are they separate enough to have all 3? Personally, I would not carry all 3. The problem is I do enjoy throwing all 3. So what to do? But ultimately, and I'll talk more about it in a future video, I just didn't feel like I had to be extremely deep with the Jackal Legacy like I did with the Forged Flare to get it to work. And somehow the Forged Flare feels a bit more asymmetric than the Jackal Legacy. On to the two-hand review, and you all know by now that as I learn this style, I'm still rev dominant, which sometimes makes it tricky to use strong pieces. While I had a hell of a time with the Forged Flare, not the case at all with the Jackal Legacy. The cover and core match up, and with that added smoothness and not so sharp stand-up characteristic made the Jackal Legacy much easier to use. It's been tricky to find strong balls as we test those that are actually useful for my two-hand game. But the Legacy's strong but smooth motion really made it feel like it could be the strong defined ball for both one-hand and two-handed styles without one bit of a problem. Final thoughts. Objectively, the Motiv Jackal Legacy is a strong defined ball for pretty much all styles. It should manage the heaviest conditions while still being playable on medium conditions for a lot of bowlers due to its smooth transition from skid to hook to roll. Don't mistake that for limited backhand. It's just more of that sort of smooth climbing type of strong downlane motion, the kind I find most useful. The fact that it actually felt similarly usable from a one-hand, two-hand, right or left side speaks to its versatility. Being the latest ball, the Legacy will bench my Alpha, which benched my Ghost. But if you are inclined and you have the conditions to say have a strong defined and a strong defined minus, then you could certainly add the Ghost next to the Legacy.